So Friday, Venerable Pekar and myself and Venerable Yeshe went to Parliament House for Vesak celebration. So this was organised by the Buddhist Council of Western Australia and the Office of Multicultural Affairs. I'm not sure what it's quite called here, but they had the speaker from both from the government and the opposition, and they both had very long portfolios, so I can't say they're minister of this and that and many things. But also we had Aboriginal elders there, Auntie Jerry from the local area. And what was interesting that brought the two together, so Friday was also Sorry Day, and so recognition of all the stolen generations, and we're in Reconciliation Week currently. And so what brought the two together, you may have heard about the little Buddha statue that was found in Shark Bay. I don't know if you heard about this. So it was found about 5 years ago, but I remember seeing a news item about that a few months ago. And it's believed to be from the Ming dynasty. It's from China. Wow, yeah. This little Buddha. And the Indigenous elders who found it knew that it was something sacred. So all power to the Buddha, of course. And so now that was actually there with us in Parliament House, and the custodians were there to, sort of talk about it, but also, I guess, if the Buddha doesn't need protecting, but the statue might. So it was really amazing, and that it eventually they'll have some, at Shark Bay, they'll have some, what do we call it, maybe a cultural centre or something to house it. At the moment, they don't have that sort of capability right there. But it was like, and isn't that a wonderful coming together of recognition, from both sides? I just thought it absolutely suited reconciliation, that there was that power of the Buddha along with the Indigenous power coming together. Very, very moving.
And different Buddhist traditions as well.
Oh, all the different Buddhist traditions, of course. Well, maybe not all of them were there. I don't think we had any Koreans, but many. So that was a wonderful celebration for us. I just thought to mention. So we're going to be finishing just a bit early today because, did you mention? No, because I'm going to Kopan this afternoon. Just, as you do.
Yes.
Now, of course, coming up to the 49th day, Kyabje Lama Zopa Rinpoche is taking the last breath and manifesting, passing to parinirvana, which would, in that way, we can see that Rinpoche is way beyond the, taking rebirth in samsara, except as a holy being returning for the benefit of everyone else. Nonetheless, we still acknowledge these days, and so it ties in with this theme of death. And so, it's a time of contemplation and reflection. So I will, I'm going to be there at Kopan first time in 15 years, which is wonderful. That's been there rather much more recently. People keep telling me about these buildings, and I go, where's that? Yeah, so it's going to be a wonderful meeting with many old friends and new ones, but also to engage in all the pujas, and then including Sakadawa. Yeah, no, including going up to Sakadawa. So that's where I'll be, and I'll do my best to make offerings on behalf of the centre at Kopan and Bodhanath, and whatever for us. And hopefully I'll get to see Geshe Zopa. I've sent him a message saying I'm coming to more advice. So yesterday we had the Tara Puja, yet again facing the Tara wall, which is a wonderful thing to do. You're just sort of surrounded by Tara energy. It's really, really nice to do. So of course it's not yet complete, and we, Geshe-la has accepted to give the consecration in July. And so we've got a few more things to do. There'll be a few more things after that to do. It's a work in progress, but I'd like to get a little bit further along the way. So Tara's swift energy, it must be channeling. Come on, hurry up. Which relates to this of hurrying up, because in our Dharma practice, because, you know, who knows when we're going to take our last breath. So, so that's my plans, but I may not even get on the plane, you know. So it's good to think like this, that I don't want to think that. Your sort of mind doesn't want to go there, but it's reality, right? So we're continuing on with doing a few meditations, reflections, and the first one I'll do now is on those what happens in the stages of death. There are 8 stages where the body closes down and then the mind closes down. So this is usually like we looked at it last year, if you can remember, in terms of what happens. But as a meditation, is something that can be useful to do every night. Or you can do it any time of day, but particularly at night as we're going to bed, because we may not wake up in the same body. So even having that thought is already, not to freak us out, but just to realize how impermanent our life is. I don't know what percentage of people die in their sleep, but we hear a lot about people dying in their sleep, don't we? Maybe when the energies are at their weakest. I'm not sure medically how that works. And even people pray to die. You know, if they're going to die, may it be quite, I mean, of course we're all going to die, but that idea of, oh, I'll just die peacefully in my sleep and not know anything about it. And then you're going to get a rude shock when all these visions come. So to familiarize with that process, because if we look at it actually from right now, actually, as the Buddha said, from conception, we're already aging, right? So already getting closer to death, even though you're just born, which is a weird sort of way of thinking. Well, it's a Buddhist way of thinking. Maybe it wouldn't go down well with, you know, if someone in the family is having a new baby, please don't say, oh, one step closer to death. No, it's the joyous time, of course, because they've managed to manifest in a precious human rebirth. And of course, we celebrate that. But by familiarizing it, the idea is that should we be aware of these processes at the time of death, we have enough familiarity that the mind's not freaking out, you know, so that, and what I was starting to say, that in terms of the earth element in particular, that's the first one we talk about dissolving, in other words, becoming weaker. It's not that it's dissolving, it's just that it's becoming weaker. And so then the next one, the water element, is more prominent, and that happens all the way through. And we could say that people of my age maybe and beyond really feel that degeneration of the earth element. The body, you know, bony bits are not so, we'll put it this way, I take calcium. You know, you've got to prop it up. Of course, you don't have to do that as children. You're in sort of building it up. Yeah. So anyway, so that we start to just familiarize so that we can also let go of that holding on to such a strong sense of ourselves by realizing, oh, it is all quite impermanent. It is all quite, in a way, ephemeral. And to get used to different states of being. Because if we were to come to the end of this dissolution process and abide in the clear light and have the realizations on our mind, wouldn't that be amazing to be just doing as Rinpoche did, you know, to be using that time to meditate. There's another option, to use that time to meditate when you're at the most subtle level of mind, which needs the body to stay in the body to function like that and to develop spiritual, you know, realizations. Wow, wouldn't that be fantastic? Meantime, for the doubters, the self-doubters, we'd say we familiarize at least with the processes. So, okay, so I'll guide you through this meditation. So sitting comfortably, relaxing your body. Of course, this is a nice meditation to do as you're lying down before you go to sleep. And it may be that you fall asleep during the meditation, that's fine. I mean, when you're doing it lying down. Or the other thing to do is just as you're going to sleep, see if you can observe any of these processes that are happening. I think by the time we get beyond the earth element, we're probably already asleep. So those sensations of like, you know, when you're tired and you have this sensation of things going blurry, and then maybe a heaviness of the body or that sinking feeling, you know, it's like a drop. And those sorts of things, they all tie into this dissolution of the earth element, those experiences that we know can access. Getting beyond that, I mean, you may be better at keeping the light of awareness on than I am. But yeah, just try it and it's not that we want to go through the whole process, but to just bring it to our awareness more, you know, that we do have those experiences and they make sense in the context of what actually happens at the time of death. So that can be very useful. Okay, so let's just do. All right, so that, so we can set our motivation thinking, you know, I'm engaging in this familiarization with the death process so I can prepare myself for death, doing as much as I can right now in terms of spiritual practice and being more helpful to others, helping them overcome fear of death. You know, we think about our dear family or friends who are facing death, and particularly if it's a prolonged, you know, sort of drawn out experience, that through our own reducing the fear of the time of death, fear of death rather, then we're able to that extent to benefit others, okay, and die more peacefully. So with this, as I guide you through this process, the body of meditation, it's sort of like we go through a progressive closing down, if you like. We're using our power of imagination now to do that, of physical, sensory, mental functioning, the nervous activity, nervous energy in the body closes down, and everything closes down from the extremities into the deep within the nervous system. Okay. And if you want to enhance the experience, you could either imagine yourself, you know, maybe on your deathbed. Let's say you're having a natural death, and so that able to fully experience these 8 stages. So the first 4 stages is about the body closing down. And so the mind is still at this same, like now, gross level of engagement. It's a gross level of mind, which includes all our thoughts and perceptions. And these gradually then diminish, weaken, particularly to start with the physical senses. So we'll just go through. So reflecting on getting in contact with the earth element in the body. It's all the experiences of solidity, our bones. You can feel the power of your legs, the pelvis, in contact with the chair or the cushion, with the mat, with the floor, through the feet. So we can think about the whole of the skeletal system, but also the muscles, things like fingernails, toenails, hair, teeth, basically all the hard bits of the body. And as that starts to fade, diminish, your body loses strength, becomes thinner and weaker. We can think about the people we've witnessed, perhaps just not even actively dying, but aging, getting thinner, weaker. And then in this instance, feeling drained of energy. So hard to lift yourself up, or even maybe to say you're lying down, to turn side to side. It's like there's not enough strength, and you feel like you're sinking or falling, sinking under the earth, maybe. Get that sensation of that heaviness. And the body color, the luster of the body fades, and the cheeks become sunken. If you've witnessed someone in that dying process, you might have noticed that it really is that sense of a death mask, because everything's, the face is sunken in around the eyes, around the cheeks. And the eyesight becomes blurry, unclear. And it becomes difficult to open and close the eyes. So if they're closed, it'll be difficult to open. If they're open, difficult to close. They feel that heaviness. So these are the outer signs of the death process, the ones that are observable by others. The inner experience, we talk about these visions. It's not so much a vision. Well, I suppose it could be, but the experience is like a sense of a shimmering mirage. So when your eyes go blurry, when you're tired and you can't see things clearly. So a bit like that, shimmering, said to be a silver blue mirage. Anyway, the eye sense power is closing. And we can think, it's useful to think, I am like a mirage. This earth element's dissolving. It's not as solid as I think. So it's like this mirage-like, illusion-like quality. And then as that earth element dissolves, the water element is more manifest. The water element consists of all the fluids in the body. We know, as we've been told, just that the body is mostly made up of water or fluids. So it has that quality of the fluids plus of cohesion, so that whatever makes everything stick together with things like ligaments and so forth. And as that starts to dissolve, you feel the dryness in the eyes, the throat, in the mouth. Everything dries up. It becomes difficult to move the tongue, and the body's more shriveled as it loses the moisture. . And along with that, the sense of hearing weakens and the ringing in the ears ceases. So you can't hear clearly, which is interesting when we're visiting loved ones in the death process. Even though they say you can't hear like we're hearing now, just our presence for those we have a karmic connection with is a sort of deeper hearing. So still keep those prayers and wishes for our loved ones at that time going, of course. And then also the sensations of distinguishing pleasant sensations or unpleasant sensations in the body diminishes, like that sort of comfort, discomfort, that quality goes. The mind might become hazy or frustrated or nervous. We're going into unfamiliar territory experiences. And the inner vision here, we can think, is that of a haze of swirling wisps of smoke within smoke. Sometimes they say like incense within a smoke-filled room or a curlicule of smoke in a chimney. We get the idea. So it's sort of like this smoky vapor. And again, we can think that I'm a mere haze of smoke. No substance. As the water element dissolves, the fire element is more manifest, so the sensations of warmth in our body. Or the heat, or the sort of, we have, of course, when we have more warmth from the sun on our skin, we take that into the body and we feel warmer and sometimes too hot. Whereas right now, in this temperature now, it's like we want to generate more warmth to keep us going. And then at this stage of the death process, that warmth starts to dissipate from the body. It goes from the extremities, so from the fingertips. It starts to very gradually, it takes some time, fingertips and toes, for that warmth to gradually diminish. And up until at the heart center, at the center of the chest, the heart chakra, where the warmth eventually gathers. But it takes a long time. So at this stage, it's just like that warmth starting to withdraw. And here at this stage, the mouth, the nose are completely dry. You can no longer eat or drink or digest anything. So the digestive system's closed down, capacity to swallow is gone. And the mind alternates between clarity and confusion. So this can be like also when we're falling asleep, or and we might be having some clarity and then we sink into, sleepiness, and then, we have another moment. So it's like that. And here, our wisdom of discerning wisdom closes down. So this is the ability to distinguish family, friends, to just remember the names of people. Maybe you won't even recognize them. So for those of us witnessing someone at the time of death, this can be a time of distress if you're not able to identify who we are. And these days, that may come very early on. It's even though we engage in this meditation in a linear fashion, it doesn't always happen exactly as this. So your sense of smell weakens. Your breathing becomes difficult, so the breath in becomes very weak and shorter, and the breath out becomes stronger and longer. And here, if we're being with loved ones at a time of death, we might be wondering if they're going to take a next breath in because it seems to take so long. And the internal experience, the vision, is one of like shimmering sparks, like embers from an open fire, or fireflies, or that sort of, like that, or embers within smoke. So that we can think, oh, I'm just like these flighty embers that just dissolve in a haze of smoke. Feel that experience? And then as the fire element dissolves, the warmth going from our body, then the air element becomes more prominent. So this mainly we associate with the breathing. So at this stage, you can no longer move your limbs. Your body is immobile. So we can reflect on that as we're going to sleep or as we're waking, and that sense of not able to move the body. And the mind becomes unaware of the outside world. You're withdrawing. Mind might becomes bewildered, confused. That sense of going out of existence is very frightening to our mind. And everything becomes a blur, total blur. So any last residual feeling of contact with the environment around us is slipping away. People, the environment, everything slipping away. And the sense of taste dissolves, the sense of touch, the tactility, the sensations of smoothness or roughness on the skin, for example, all dissolve. So here at this stage, you may have frightening visions if those who've been engaged in a lot of negative actions in life, and particularly if it's prominent at that time of death, can have frightening visions. And those who've done a lot of good things, worked on our minds, practice the Dharma as much as we can have beautiful, joyous ones. So this is that stage when people who have near-death experiences, come back and report what that experience was. So depending on people's belief system, they might say they had a conversation with God, or they saw a white light, usually the white light. Mm-hmm. So this is the last stage from which we can have that possibility of coming, being revived or coming back to life in this body. The breathing becomes more difficult, labored, and then stops altogether. The last thoughts of this gross level of mind stops. And you have this inner vision of like a dim red-blue light, or the last, flickering of a candlelight flame about to be extinguished. Really identifying with that sense of going out of existence. And just notice how we respond, how the mind responds. So at this level, all the gross levels of consciousness have completely ceased. And following that, the mind dissolves in terms of the level of mind becoming more and more subtle, which is why if we have control over the death process, those that do look forward to this time because there's control over the mind. But for those of us not yet that advanced, these experiences just happen. So the first one is said to be the appearance of a white vision, a very clear, empty sky, luminous, like the sky in autumn, full of brightness, particularly a night sky, brightness of the full moon, but that white brightness, like 1,000 full moons, you might say. So what is said to be called the 80 conceptual thoughts dissolve. In other words, all of conceptual mind starts to dissolve, and we're going more and more to a subtler level of mind. So when that white vision fades, there's a red vision in the mind. So that's like a clear, empty sky filled with rays of like a copper red-like sunset. Again, if we think of an autumn sunset, like right now. And then as the mind becomes more and more subtle, next there's a black appearance, a black vision, which is like total darkness. And this is where the mind can get freaked out. So by familiarizing with it, gaining familiarity so that the mind becomes hopefully not freaked out at all, but at least less so because of familiarity with the process. So it's like a dark, empty space. We really feel like nothing. And then at the end of that, there's like a loss of consciousness, swooning into unconsciousness, like fainting. That's that experience, which then leads to the manifestation of the most subtle level of mind, this clear light of death. So this is like, there's no white, red, or dark appearances. It's like an autumn sky at dawn, completely pure, empty, and filled with clear, colorless light. So if you can visualize that experience. It's the most subtle level of mind. And keep your mind focused on that. Clear light. As long as you can. If the mind gets distracted, just bring it back to that clear light experience, thinking this is the most pure, the most subtle level of mind, the most powerful state of mind, uncluttered by all our concepts. Clear, luminous mind, spacious mind. So if our minds are trained, we can stay in that clear light mind for as long as we wish to complete whatever spiritual practices we're engaging. But for most of us, what happens is there's some movement. So here we have subtle wind energy. So the mind is at its most subtle, and the wind energy in the body is at its most subtle. So it's not perceivable that we've stopped manifest breathing. And when that happens, the consciousness passes back through reverse order. Black vision, darkness, then the red vision, like an autumn sunset, white vision, the air element, the fire element, the water element, the earth element. So this can happen that we could return into this physical body, but most likely at this time, this is the forming of our body in the intermediate state, the bardo body, which is that of the next rebirth, but it's not as substantial as our body now. So this is why it's a very subtle body. It can go through walls, it can go through mountains, it can go anywhere except for the only thing it can't pass through is the womb of the future mother. So this is why we do those prayers at this time for those 49 days, because every 7 days you can go through this same process again and again, dissolving the elements and re-embodying until you find that future womb, shall we say, of the mother. You have a karmic connection. So we can influence the mind of beings in this state, which is why we do the prayers and practices. This is the most subtle state. Nothing's impeding. We don't need the physical senses to be able to feel the prayers and practices being done for us, particularly those close to us karmically. Even our gurus can guide us through the bardo. So then at the stage where we do enter that mother's room, which is said to be, it's like we're attracted by a bright light. So when that happens, we go back through that reverse process again, through all the visions and all the elements re-embodying, and the time, a place of rebirth is found. In other words, in the womb. So drawing this meditation to a close, we can gather together those experiences so that our mind familiarizes more and more in a state of calmness and curiosity, not in a state of fear. And think that through engaging such a practice, you're able to develop wisdom and compassion and the other qualities and realizations that will enable you to benefit others, to free yourself from this cycle of death and rebirth. And to be able to experience true lasting peace and happiness. Okay, so does anyone want to share any any experiences, or just like, I didn't want to go there, or I've done it a few times and getting more familiar, anything? Silent.
I think it's good to familiarise. I mean, yes, I've done that countless times in the past.
Yeah.
And I think it's good to have a bit of a dress rehearsal.
Oh, it's a great dress rehearsal, yeah.
To remove fear. So
absolutely. I think that familiarization it's not guaranteed that you won't have any fear.
Right.
But for example, it's true. Our fellow nun, Venerable Dronsel, who passed away a few years ago in Chen Rezik, and of course, a few of us were taking turns doing her prayers and practices with her. And she'd be in there because her daughter was also there as a support person for 3 months. And she'd be like, oh, that was the earth element dissolving. I think I'm at stage. You know? But to be able to just talk about it freely with your Dharma friends of what's going on, because I certainly have found that experience of visiting people towards the end of their life, particularly when it's sort of like that, months at a time or whatever, where they're able to observe some of these things happening and then just go, oh yeah, that's normal, that's what happens. And then does this happen for you? So if people are open to that, if they're familiar with it, we can actually, and they're well enough, conscious, whatever, you're able to have that conversation. But even so, for people, it can still get fearful at that time of death and thinking, I just want the pain to stop. So we can have all sorts of different experiences, but I do believe by doing this as regularly, as I said, as you go to sleep and just think, and while the light's on in the mind, just observing what does happen as a sort of being curious, just like, oh, isn't that interesting? Not thinking, oh, no, I must meditate like this or that, but just sort of observing what does happen, what you're aware of. And the same with the reverse process as you're waking up, where we're waking and sensations are not so clear and then eyes are blurry again, and all those things that happen. I find it quite fascinating. And that reduces the fear and ball.
I also read someone's lived experience of the dissolution process. Nikki Rinpoche's book, In Love of the World.
Yes.
He nearly died, and he's a great meditation master, and he observed it all and wrote a book for us all.
Yeah. This is how we get these meditations of these great beings who are able to, while in that process, observe it. I mean, the reality is that this might happen so quickly we're not aware of most of it happening. But whatever experiences we are aware of, if we familiarize now, then it's less likely to be totally freaking out at the time when it does happen.
And apparently, when he spoke to our masters about it, he didn't say, "Oh, I nearly died." He said, "Oh, I went through the dissolution process."
Yeah, well, I guess that's really interesting because that's what it is. So any other comments? Or
The death process, I thought I was quite strange when I was younger about thinking about death. Because I've always had this observation of death as in nature, or what it would be like to die.
Yeah.
And being interested in film, you'd always sort of stage your own death and have, all these different scenarios. And also the subtle consciousnesses of that, with falling asleep and waking up. And I think to myself, am I just strange? Why would I buy all these books on death and read them about people dying and what they went through, or the process of how we deal with death? So it's always been on the radar with me. And most people don't want to talk, or
no, most people do not want to talk about it. No.
Any books that I had on the subject. I'm curious. Curiosity, from a young age.
Yeah.
Curious. From watching an animal passing away and then thinking about the animal and what processes and that, have they got a consciousness to go and, where would they be, or
yes,
what would happen?
See, even having those thoughts would suggest that you've encountered these ways of thinking before. And, having that curiosity at a young age, I think kids in some way are curious about death before they learn that it's a frightening subject. Before they learn it's a frightening subject, because kids are open to every experience and curious. So, yeah, it's really wonderful to be able to find a home where you can nurture that.
Because what you were saying reminded me of Venerable. He runs the Death Cafe at Genesis Institute, and he said, I attended one, and he said, he'd always been interested in death, but comfortable with it. And from, I think one of his parents died when he was a teenager, and he sat with this person who was completely comfortable.
I feel it's a great honour to be that person.
It is a great honour, yes.
And it's one of the greatest gifts. Well, you're observing, you're actually there with them. Yeah. Wishing them the best.
Yes, wishing them the best, making it as comfortable as possible. And
then observing the body afterwards.
Yeah.
It's quite that whole one breath in to create life, one breath out to leave life.
Yes.
That interchangeable play. So simple, yet profound.
Yeah. And it's a very, because, if you look at that process of everything closing down, that it's a subtle energy, and that is in the environment. Like when someone's dying, you can feel that sort of, everyone naturally does. If people naturally go quiet and naturally just very respectful and so forth. Just, I've seen that time and again. Of course, that might be also, I don't know what to do, but generally it's just you're you're there and witness, so Yvonne.
When I was younger, I was volunteering in the center. We set up this service where we would go out to people, older people who couldn't go to the center because they were in nursing homes. Sometimes they would just talk about their passing. They just wanted to talk about.
They wanted to talk about dying because it was becoming a reality to them. Yeah, they're aging.
Expecting it, and they were really upset because their family wouldn't let them talk about it.
Yes.
And they were really kind of grateful that I just sat there and talked to them about
that. Yeah.
Like I didn't do anything. I was just like,
no. It's listening. It's being there with them. Yeah.
And I didn't feel like Yeah, maybe like calling that is the version either, maybe to talking about that. And I grew up with my grandmother and my great grandmother. It's very little. I think my great grandmother was, I didn't know at the time she was dying. She was dying for several years, and that was just normal.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's wonderful to have grown up in an environment where it's normalized to talk about it, because it is reality. You know, we know that, but not to go, oh, hush, hush, oh, she's too young, or you know, these sorts of concepts that people have that, you know, then creates fears in us, because it's like, oh, that's taboo, and then, you know, we become fearful. Yeah.
I still think about that.
Yeah.
Especially this one person's gratitude for being able to talk about
Yeah. Yeah. No, it is a wonderful opportunity. I think it's what I always find it very, very wonderful to be able to, you know, be with that, with somebody, and even, you know, way before I was ordained, and just allow that space, which is what we're saying, you know, allow them space to just talk about, well, this is what's going on for me right now. This is reality. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right, so we might just do another meditation briefly. This is a meditation from Lama Yeshe. It's called the Om Ahung meditation, and it's from the book From Life to Life. Is that the name? Life, Death, and Afterlife. It's one of the, I didn't check if we've got copies out there, but one of the freely offered from Lama Yeshe Wisdom Archives. So it doesn't so much focus on death, but it's a lovely meditation. So let's do. Okay, again, settling into a comfortable, relaxed posture in your body, and feeling well grounded, well supported by the earth below, putting aside any thoughts of other activities, even the discussion we just had, just being present. Just focusing on the breath, allow the mind to settle into a calm space. And think that you're engaging in this meditation, this reflection, this purification process to detox slightly, as much as possible, and to help bring about a greater peace and happiness for ourselves, and by extension to all those we encounter. So this uses visualization, so we can start with visualizing a white Om and placing that, or visualizing it arising like the center of your head, center of your brain, and thinking it's the pure energy of all the divine bodies, of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, or the Arya beings, or whoever you regard as being the essence of that complete purity. And I'll recite the Om slowly, and you can visualize white light radiates out from that Om inside your head, fills your body, and all the disturbing energy within the body, all our conceptions, anything negative, anything we're holding on to that we can't let go of, gets completely cleansed, purified, let go. So as we do this, as this white light fills up your body, you can feel that from the feet up to the top of your head is completely filled with radiant, blissful white energy. So as I recite the Om, you can visualize this really happening. You're really experiencing it. Resting in the silence. Just be aware, not thinking anything's good, anything's bad, not having mental conversations. Just place all your attention in this light consciousness, this Om at the center of your brain, intensely aware. Just be there without sluggishness, without distraction, just this pure, pure white light energy. And next, visualize a red R at your throat chakra, so the center of your throat. So the red, similar to a sunset. And recognize that R as the pure speech energy of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Someone you regard as having that pure energy of speech, purity of speech, that you can trust. And as I recite the Ah slowly, visualize red light radiates from the Ah at your throat chakra, and your whole body is embraced by this blissful, radiant light energy radiating out to all the cells, to the organs, to extremities, tips of the fingers, tips of the toes, top of the head, everywhere in between, and purifies your speech. It means that the uncontrolled mind and speech work interdependently, and it purifies any negativities of speech, any harm we've done with our speech, or lying, or harsh words, gossip. And you can imagine that even the imprints of those tendencies to negative actions of speech are completely purified, no longer exist, completely dissolved by this radiant, blissful red energy. Having this clean, clear mind and controlled speech is the way to purify any impure and uncontrolled speech. So letting your mind be in that state of intense awareness of your own consciousness without expectation. And see if you can be aware of your experience of empty space as truth, as reality, an experience much more real than our waking sensory world, the fantasy world we live, the purity of this experience. And if uninvited, distracted thoughts come, remember that not only you, but all other sentient beings are in the same situation, so we can cultivate much loving kindness for others and for ourselves. Loving kindness towards your own mind, your own being. And then visualizing that loving kindness manifesting at the heart chakra, at the center of your chest, in the aspect of a full moon or 1,000 full moons, that radiance. And then on top, visualizing at your heart on a moon disk, a blue radiating hum. So light rays radiating out from this hum. That is all the wisdom energy of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Your heart is pure, cooled, calm, opened by the radiating light of the moon and the hum. And so all those infinite blue light rays from the hum resonate and radiate throughout your whole entire body, and it feels more and more blissful. All the obsessive thoughts and indecisive minds and so forth disappear, and you're embraced with this infinite blue light. As I recite the hum slowly. Ooh. 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 Completely embraced by infinite blue light. Feel that this infinite blue light, just like your consciousness, your awareness, your mind, embraces the entire universal reality. Feel and be that any expectations, just dwelling in this infinite universal reality, wisdom. And if your mind gets distracted, turn to the experience generating loving kindness towards yourself, recognizing all others in the same boat, and loving kindness towards them. So the two aspects of wisdom and loving kindness abiding in your mind. Which is completely pure. And harnessing that purity, that energy back into your heart chakra from all the extremities, from all, wherever it's gone externally, gathering it in to continue to grow your wisdom and compassion. I think, may this be the cause for all beings to be free of suffering and its causes, all our uncontrolled, disturbed states of mind. And that may we all attain perfect peace, perfect happiness, infinite wisdom. Okay, so I did that very briefly. You can spend a lot more time on that meditation. There's a little booklet on my home. I don't know if we have any here of that meditation, but I think also Lama Yeshe Wisdom Archives, you can find it there as well. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there for today. My timekeeper's telling me to wind up. And then I won't see you for a few weeks. I'll be down in Bunbury. And so then when I come back, we'll be moving on to, what module are we up to? Refuge. Wonderful. Thank you. Refuge. Well, it's before then. I'm not sure when it is. We'll have to see. I'm not sure. Is it? Oh, potentially. Yeah, I'm zipping around a bit in the next few months.
When I get dates from Susan, I'll put things on the website.
Yeah.
The events will be there.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. All righty. Yeah, it might be. Yeah, I can't remember. Sorry, folks. But but of course we will be having anyway. August seems such a far away place. I think I've got I don't have a week here. I've got a Sunday here before. One Sunday. We should come together anyway for that Sunday. Yeah. Alrighty, so we can dedicate. Page 16. Through the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of a Guru Buddha and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the precious body-mind not yet born arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. And then the long life prayer for His Holiness Dalai Lama, page 19. The wish-granting, wish-fulfilling jewel, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world, to the incomparably kind Tenzin Gyatso, I beseech, may all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. And then page 23, long life prayer for Tenzin Osul. Lord of Dharma, who in accordance with the various dispositions of those to be subdued, makes clear in the light of your well-spoken advice the sacred Ganden tradition, essence of Buddha's teachings. O foremost and holy Lama, to you are supreme. O Lama, please live long. So then turning in our booklet to the first prayer for the swift return of Lama Zopa Rinpoche by His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama, Tenzin Gyatso. Peerless teacher, an assembly of children of the victorious one, Shravakas, Pratyeka Buddhas, victorious Losang father and sons, together with your lineage. all the objects of refuge of the infinite lands, please now bestow the virtue and goodness to accomplish this prayer in holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings through explanation and practice. You wore the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable Venerable Guru, to you I make request. Sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge, while striving exclusively for the welfare of the victorious one's teachings and mother living beings. You suddenly departed to peace. What a great loss. Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the oceans of the three jewels and the great waves of the vine generation of the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of a new reincarnation swiftly beam in glory for fortunate disciples. So Wednesday evening will be the last of the pujas for the swift return of Khebje Lama Zopa Rinpoche at this stage, but that rounds out the 49-day period. Of course, we want to all keep saying the swift return prayers until Rinpoche swiftly returns. Okay, so thank you very much, and we'll just end this.